Hello, and good afternoon. And today we are bringing to you a wonderful conversation. Today, I got three wonderful people. I have two with me now, and one's going to be joining us shortly. And we're going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to my heart. Also, I'm sure that you're in the public and leadership arena. It is something that is definitely dear to you. But we're going to have a conversation today and we're going to bring to light some of the issues, some of the resolutions, some of the call to actions, some of the things that you can do in your particular arena, wherever that may be in leadership or whether it's just on the job or whether it's just actually what I like to say is a personal part of you as well. And we're going to be talking about unconscious bias today. And we're going to talk about how we can include or bring about the awareness of, the acknowledgement of the unconscious bias, but how can we do that with an inclusion through vulnerability? We're going to tap on some of the soft spaces of how we'll be able to cut through the unconscious bias, identify actually what is the unconscious bias, because a lot of times we carry those and we have no idea where they are or even if we're in the access of even doing them. But we're going to bring a conversation to the stage, and I'm going to bring my beautiful co-hosts with me, my beautiful co-host, and then we're going to introduce our guest as well, the wonderful TaJuanna Taylor. Hello, dear. How are you?
I am well. How about you?
I am well. I'm excited about this conversation that we're going to have today. And
Same
it
here.
is going to be a great one at that. And
Mhm.
we had another guest that we're going
Yeah.
to be bringing on, one of our special guests that's going to be joining us on this leadership conference. And it is the wonderful Brenda Aaron. Hello, Brenda. How are you?
Hello, Car. Hello, Tawana. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with you. So I am very appreciative, very grateful, and thankful for the inclusion.
I like that. A play off on words. So,
Right?
I know,
Tawana,
I know.
what are we going to really get started with today? I know I brought in a few things in the intro, and I talked about some of the things that we're going to be talking about. I want to give a shout out first. Let me get my housekeeping out the way for
Yes.
all of you guys. Yes, I always miss that sometimes. For all of you guys that are joining us live, thank you and welcome to C3, the leadership. We are here with TaJuanna Taylor and Brenda Aaron, and soon to join us, it's going to be the wonderful Charlene Brown as well. And we're just going to be talking about unconscious bias, the inclusion through vulnerability. And this is a great leadership win. We've invited Brenda to join as well as Charlene because it is a place where we are able to collaborate with each other, throw ideas off of each other, get inclusion with each other, and build relationships that's going to be dynamic, whether we actually meet in person or not. I'm
That's
wondering and I'm looking at now through all of some of the relationships that I've cultivated over this almost 2 years now of doing Zooms is just tremendous how much fruitful
Mhm.
they have been, even though a lot of them I have not met in purpose in person. They've
yeah.
been very fruitful. So all right, Tawana, it is on you. I want to welcome, wait before that happens. Technology. So I got Charlene timing in. So Charlene,
Hey,
we got you up on the stage.
we're
Hey,
Hello.
Charlene.
We're gonna go around. Forgive me again. We're gonna go around, and everybody's just gonna introduce themselves, kind of tell you a little bit about yourself, and then we're gonna dive into the unconscious bias. We
yeah.
start with you, Tawana.
All right. Thank you, Carl.
My
Yeah,
pleasure.
I'm so happy to see everyone. We're all here. You tuned in with us. Don't be shy. Join the conversation. Give us some comments. We'd love to acknowledge you and absolutely feel free to ask your questions. Another early housekeeping. We cannot go further without saying thank you to Karen,
Yes.
right? Karen and
Yes.
Lawrence with the
Yes.
Consciousness Leadership Group. Thank you so much for entrusting us with this conversation. So, Tawana Taylor, as you already have heard and can see here, I am the business growth strategist and founder of Bootstrap Dreams, where I help evolving entrepreneurs show up with confidence, make profitable decisions, and hire virtual assistants. It's that simple. right? And it's all under with the root, the anchor, if you will, of project management. Who do you need and what do you need to succeed? Because do it yourself does not mean do it alone. And this conversation about inclusiveness is going to be so relevant, not only in your personal life, but of course, we're here on LinkedIn, so we're going to talk about business, right? And so I look forward to sharing this conversation and the perspectives that our amazing panel are going to offer here today. Brenda, go ahead.
Oh my goodness. I was expecting to listen to Charlene. Thank you so much. My name is Brenda Aaron. I am the owner of Authority Business Solutions. And I started that company to provide administrative support to small business owners to make sure that they can go out and be great in what they do and help them in the administrative tasks. So I am a virtual assistant. And I also have I am a notary public. And I say that we are notarizing Hampton Roads, one signature at a time. Lately, my business focus has shifted a little bit towards more to leadership, which is something that I did not expect. That is not in the direction that I was going, but I am embracing it. I am born and raised in Puerto Rico. I have been here in Virginia for the past 32 years. So it has been a incredible journey. So I hope that I can bring value to this group in this conversation today.
For sure.
Awesome. And Miss Charlene Brown.
Charlie.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for my tardiness. But my name is Charlene Brown, and I am a website architect, and I take my 21 plus years of doing website development and design, and I allow women especially, but solopreneurs, small business owners, to really understand where their websites have a place in their businesses. A lot of times we use that as a secondary or a throw off, but it's really a tool that can be the base of your marketing that really allows people to get to know your business, get to know you in particular, and really grow and become a foundation for sustainability and of course profit. So I am looking forward to this conversation, and of course LinkedIn, getting ready to connect with people.
Yes, this is great. And I am, last but not least, Shawn Watkins, the founder and CEO of Shawn Watkins. It's a consulting and it's a coaching firm. And my expertise is just empowering leaders and executives how to transform their vulnerability into their superpower. And how I do that, I just do it simply by using their vulnerability strategically and intentionally. So we can help identify some of the struggles and some of the challenges that leaders face with leading through vulnerability. And we just highlight those, we identify those, and we help you to grow on those and embrace your vulnerability through leading others. So that's simply what I do. That's simply who I am. And we got to get started.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about the first thing. I think I had jumped the gun a little bit in that, and we were talking about the unconscious bias, and this is what we're going to cover today. But I just want to go around and let us identify what is unconscious bias and what is it and what does it mean to each and every one of you guys?
Let's start with
We do popcorn. I should have said nothing. For me, of course, it means that you don't have a full awareness of what it is that you're doing, what your actions or maybe your thoughts are producing in your behavior. So a lot of times you are unconsciously behaving in a certain way towards either a person or maybe a concept or a belief, and you're not really sure where that might be coming from. That might be something that's seemingly deep into either from your heritage or just the way you were raised, or you kind of pick things up along the way as well. So friends, family, you just start to see that behavior as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great.
My cat got to me, sorry.
Oh, the cat's trying to join. The cat
wants to be included.
Yes, maybe they have a few meows on unconscious bias as well. Brenda, what do you think about it, and what does that really mean to you?
Definitely following up on what Charlene said, it's something that people are not aware of. I personally experienced it because from a regional cultural standpoint. I married into a family that was, different, culturally different from who I am and where I grew up. And I had to really look at it from an objective point, not being my normal, usual Puerto Rican hot-headed self, and think that it was, really a full-on purposeful attack. As I stepped back and observed, I saw, oh, they don't even have a clue that everything about 90% of what they have said is really offensive to me. And they would look at me and tell me and talk to me, and I'm like, when you talk, do you hear what you're saying? And are you looking at me? So I realized that a lot of it is, it could be regional, cultural background, age group, whatever, but also I have experienced those who are just purposefully, going out of the way to say things that are just not in the most professional way, or downright offensive. So, but unconscious, I like to believe the best in people, and if we take a few extra seconds to observe and put it into context, when people are talking, the person, taking the totality of who the person is, the context, the situation, that maybe we'll be able to see that, okay, I know that you may not be aware of what you just said. Let's have a conversation, and maybe start from that point and bring awareness in that way.
Great. And TaJuanna? I think you're on mute, one.
As usual, right, in the Zoom world. Brenda and Charlene both have hit on something. The immediate thing that comes to mind for me when I hear unconscious bias is the lack of realization, right? That's the unconscious part. Don't even realize it. Secondly, the bias, favor. Whether it's right or wrong, we're not arguing at this point, right? But you have a favor for that. You lean towards that language, or you lean towards that sentiment, or you really anchor yourself into whatever that belief is that you have. And it's so natural to you. It's so comfortable with you. You don't even realize it's happening, right? You don't even realize you're giving it, let alone living it, and how it may impact someone else. So I'm really excited about this, because it's that unconsciousness, right? It's that lack of awareness that promotes a lot of the experiences that we do have and that we create. So what about you, Carl?
I mean, you guys, I guess that's the good and the bad. We're going last, right? You guys have covered it so very well and such eloquence, and I love Brenda even have the family example, along with the corporate examples that we see so much, and they're so tied in. I put in there the actual definition of it and what Merriam-Webster really has to say about it, because I'm an avid believer of trying to dissect definitions. I just love to do that, and it's so many things that's involved in that. And it can be on both levels with the subconscious and unconscious bias, which is what we're covering. But a lot of those things that turn on that are happening, a lot of people are doing those consciously based upon other factors, other mitigating factors, such as the stereotypes, such as their typical understanding or education of what they understand those biases to be, how they interpret those biases dealing with each other. So we can say, yes, the unconscious bias is definitely out there true to form, but there is a lot of bias that people are carrying, whether they consciously or not know about it. It's just through their actions, through their speech, through their interactions, through their relationships that they had prior to. So it is such a wide range. And when we talk about that, I love it looking at what are some of the causes, of that? How can us as people really come to the terms with what's holding them back? When you think about these unconscious bias, what are some of the things that we can come to terms with maybe in our personal, because it really all delves to me with that. I know we talk about corporate, we talk about business, we talk about work, but you bring you to every situation. And I'm just an avid believer in that. You bring you to every situation. So though there's chaos, though there's cancers, though there's all those kind of things in the workplace, you still bring you. So how do we, as us working and understanding some of these biases, how do we come to terms with some of the things that may be that's holding them back in the essence of that? We can go around the circle. Charlene, since you was on camera with the with your friend there, keep turning off your camera.
Exactly. Let me jump in before. Can you say that again? Because I also have noise that I hope you guys don't hear the drama outside.
Oh, no. It's New York City. We love it. Let's say that we talk about the unconscious bias. What how can people really come to terms with what's holding them back when they're facing those unconscious bias? Because some of those biases prevent us from growing and being productive and creative and innovative on jobs. Some of those, as so I want to talk about the cliques, those special teachers' pets, managers' pets, supervisors' pets, and they kind of pushed you out. What are some of the things that you think that we can utilize to help us go forward in those unconscious bias?
Well, definitely we have to acknowledge them, because a lot of times, especially I want to say 2022, a lot of people had to come to reckoning. And I say that to mean that you started seeing folks get called out for those special treatments. They were called out for their special position, not just in life, but in careers and opportunities. Because we would always be told, those of us, and I'm going to say Black people who are considered minorities in this country, we were always told, oh, the opportunities are there. The opportunities are there. Technically, they're really not. The opportunities are there if you know the right people. And you're always not in that position to know the right people because you're just not brought into that space. So acknowledgement has to be part of that. You have to acknowledge what is that privilege that you hold that others don't. And you can't really stand from a position of being preachy when you know that you have a better standing and a better opportunity than others, but you're telling them that they can kind of pull themselves up by the sweat of their brow when technically that's not what happened with you. You know what I mean? So acknowledgement for me, you really have to put that forward and then start making some changes. If you know that you are a person of opportunity and power in some kind of status, then you should be able to bring someone into the room. So a lot of times you're like, oh, we want a seat at the table. But a lot of times you need someone to bring you to the room so you can have a seat at the table. You need someone who can make the space for you, because you'll have people who want to speak on your behalf rather than bring you in so you can speak for yourself. So it's acknowledgement, and then start making room and bringing people in so they can be their own voices. We don't always need someone to be our voice, because you always hear that conversation. How can I be an ally? How can I be an ally? Part of that is acknowledgement and bringing people in. So therefore you're not always their sounding board, and then you're not always left to kind of translate our conversation. We can do it ourselves. So that's where I am.
Great. And what you think about that, Deborah?
Or Brenda.
Brenda.
It's funny. I've always been a Deborah at least once a year. First of all, I would say, don't take it personally, even if it's directed at you. So what I mean is that the worst may be coming my way. So yes, it is coming my direction, but the worst may be coming from someone who doesn't even know me personally. Okay. So the words are coming my way, but when you assess it and you assess the situation, like, you don't even know me. So yeah, no, not going to take it personally, meaning don't react and don't counter that fire, with fire. Also, then speak them out loud. Speak them out loud. Don't pretend that it's not happening. I am the kind of a person that I'm not going to join your delusion. I mean, you can tell yourself whatever you want to tell yourself to go to sleep at night. but because I have a core values, I have a really firm set of boundaries, I am not going to join your delusion. I believe that you believe it, but if it's not true, absolute truth, I cannot join you. But and do it nicely, like Charlene said. There's no need to beat anyone over the head and be preachy or in a I am, I'm so enlightened that now I'm just going to talk down to you. No, just try to find a common ground. I don't know, lunch, coffee. Start with, I like your t-shirt. I mean, sometimes we just want to speak at such a high level that we just miss the commonalities that we really, could use to bring people together. Also take ownership. Don't assume that somebody else is going to address it. Don't assume somebody else is going to fix it for you. So my privilege is that I can talk to people that management can't, or I can talk to people that will not listen to management because they cannot even, they cannot even relate to them. So whether you are in a supervisory position, management capacity, we're all leaders. Somebody is always looking at you, and somebody is always willing to follow you, for good or for bad. So I believe that we could just always take an example. And if they do bring us to the table, I mean, it's great to be at the table, but there's nothing more frustrating to be at the table and not being able to say anything, or being at the table and you are speaking, but nobody's really, listening. So I would, perseverance would be the key. If I can summarize all that I said, I would say, don't give up. You persevere. If this way didn't work, find another one. Find another way. You keep trying until you find what works.
Keep trying, and that brings
us
right, the infamous word that we, dare I say, all have heard at least 10 times in the last year and a half or more, right? That pivot. When you talk about awareness, right? And you talk about persevere, right? Pivot not to be cliche, in a way that requires you to self-check, right? A lot of times, and it's very easy for us to play the victim. And I say us just in general as a person, to play the victim and, oh, woe is me, or, oh, there isn't room, or, oh, there isn't, wait, hold on. Because you might not have a seat at that table. There's more than one table. You know what? Build a table, right? Put as many chairs or as few chairs around it as you want, because not everything is for everyone. And right, as a business growth strategist, as a business coach, you know the saying, if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to no one. Some of the tables aren't for your message, but that doesn't mean your message doesn't need to be told. It doesn't mean it doesn't need to be heard. And how are you going to show up and share it? How are you going to be anchored into your mission and be able to articulate clearly what it is that's important from your perspective, from your experiences? You are the expert of that. No one else. You are. So it's up to you to show up and not hold yourself back, right? Us not hold ourselves back. And so we're not saying that we have to individually always be responsible for every single initiative. You don't have to own everything to serve. You don't have to own everything to make an impact. Collaborate, right? Converse, celebrate with others to make a difference, to make a change. Carl, what do you have to say?
You guys making this easy for me. I can just really just ride this wave of conversation. It's just so great that we're just covering a lot of things and we're addressing a lot of things. And I left this up right here because this was awesome to me. I know that Charlene talked about coming to the table and thinking about that avenue of it. And I like that because I'm one that like to address the issues. And I always had the mantra of the mentality of thinking you can discuss anything with anyone. It's just how you do it. And I'm just a proponent of that, regardless of rank, stature, or whatever it may be. I think that you can do that. And I think a lot of times we're fearful in that because of the communication styles that we have, or the ability to articulate what we really want to say in the right way. Because a lot of people, when I say articulate, I don't mean that you can't get your thoughts together and say it. Sometimes stuff just make you so much that if you say it, you're probably going to say it wrong. So these are some of the things. And I like to build the table, bring the table with you. I think it's with that unconscious bias, is so much that's a put off and a turn off to inclusion or inclusivity. It just really is. And it's a dynamic that if it's not acknowledged, I think, and if not brought to the table, it will continue because it's the mannerisms of people. And if you don't address those mannerisms, people will continue to live in those mannerisms because it's what they know. They feel comfortable in it, and they will put that off on you. My mom always told me when I was coming up, she said, if you don't like something someone does, tell them. She said, therein lies you create the atmosphere of understanding that if it's something you don't like, you've already identified it to the individuals that's doing it. So therefore, and I'm going to tell you what she said after that if they didn't change. But therefore, she brought out the perspective is that if you let somebody know that they're doing something to you that you don't like, then you have identified that and told them. So if the behavior continues, then there's other paths you have to take. But if you don't say anything, and I'm coming in with the same mannerisms, the same attitude, the same ha ha he he every day, and you just grinning and bearing it, how do I know if I'm offended? How do I know should I change? Should I feel like I should change? So those are some of the ways that I look at it, that if you're not addressing it, you're not saying nothing about it, silence is complacency. And if you're being silent about what's going on, you might as well join the party. That's what I think about it. All right. So we touched that.
But sometimes just to be that I guess that pebble in your shoe for a second. Sometimes with the silence, sometimes the silence may just be they don't know where to start. They don't know what to change or how to get it done. So some people stay silent because they don't want to either make the situation worse, or they're not sure how to address it. They don't know what's wrong. Because then there's people who are they're so ingrained in the bias and the anger or the hurt from the bias behavior that they're almost like in rage mode. Some people are in rage mode. They just are. So when you come up against that, sometimes you just can't really hone them in. A lot of times you just have to, watch and then maybe figure out how to help in your own way. And it might not be with them directly. It might be with someone else, but it still helps get that word across. It helps make that movement move forward. So it's always maybe not everything that's someone being silent about is a negative. They're just trying to gauge what's going on, where can they step in, and how can they really be of service and of good use rather than of hindrance and probably making something worse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've got some great comments in the chat. Yes. And one really stood out to me by Aldo. And Aldo said, why build a table, or why build when you can set? The table has been built. Just set it. Have a stewardship mindset. And I really respect and appreciate his perspective. One thing that I commented back to him, though, is sometimes it's not functional to decorate a table when the structure, the legs of the table are damaged. Right. And so there are times where stewardship is absolutely right. And stewardship does have different meanings. Right. Great. Out. He just said stewardship, we can help fix it. Right. Stewardship has different meanings. So sometimes it's be resourceful and use what you got. Right. So you might have to refurbish the table. You might not be able to start from scratch. However, just like in real estate investment, sometimes you can just spruce up the property, and sometimes it's way more effective and more financially sound to just tear it down, right? Yeah. And use the land to build up a whole new structure, right? A whole new interface, a whole new opportunity. So we do need to have stewardship and discernment, perhaps, in our decision making when we're approaching whatever platform and however the table may be presenting itself. But yeah, I don't want us to miss that. Oh, we can just cover it up, right? We can just make it pretty. Making it pretty is like a chameleon. right? It's as soon as
So
you
some
walk
tables need to be burned.
some
Oh
tables,
wow, wow.
Need to be burned down.
some tables need to be more than set, right? So this is really good though. I think everything has its purpose, timing, and function. If we can look at our next topic here and definitely keep conversing with us, we absolutely
Yes.
appreciate it. What triggered you to find yourself or your space to feel included? And we'll drop it in the chat. What triggered you to find yourself in space to feel included? Carl, let's start with you.
Oh man, the things that triggered me, and I think they trigger most people, but I've kind of collected myself with the ability to articulate how I feel, and don't get me wrong, I don't say that I'm any special to anyone else. It's just that I put that into practice for over a lot of years of actually just saying what's on my mind, and I think everyone feels that they can, everyone thinks that they can, but Charlene brought up a great point. A lot of times those are things that if you aren't kind of like coached or taught or grown into that dynamic, there are ways that you don't know how to do that, because sometimes things make people angry. And I used to be like that as a kid, and that's what it got me to articulate. Sometimes things would make me so angry that I would be angered, and my response would be a teardrop. And when people would see me, or the people that I grew up with, teenagers or whatever, when they saw that, they knew that I was real upset.
Really?
And nobody came, but I didn't want to be in a stage of communication like that. And that's what my mom would harp on, that, if you're articulating these things, then you're giving people the avenues of understanding, and you have a better dynamic in dealing with it. Those are the things that trigger me when people continue to do these things once you have already highlighted it, once you've already said it, once you've already brought it to their attention. Those things trigger me more than anything, that this has to be addressed and acknowledged. And a lot of times, it may not be the all right time, but I'll tell you in my time, a lot of times I'm frank at that point. A lot of times I'm straight and direct at that point, because I'm thinking that I've given you an avenue of where I've told you prior to, and you're still standing on my toes with this of what we've discussed about. And I just hit on what Aldo said with the stewardship. I am keen and very discernment with the stewardship. I think it is something that we all have a responsibility of, but there are variances and levels to this. And even in the stewardship, we got to go sometimes, like Charlene said and TaJuanna said, sometimes it is more productive if I tear this structure down and recreate it, then if I continue to mask, continue to put coats of paint on, continue to put nails around, band-aids on, and the such. But those are some of the trigger things that trigger me.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
This is so good. I think one of, if I had to say something that triggered me, would be getting to the space of realizing you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't. So do what you feel is well to do anyway, right?
I like that.
You're not going to be able to please everyone. Yeah. Not everyone's going to hear your voice or share your perspective or your experience. That's okay. It's not for every single body anyway, right? Your purpose or your testimony or your right, your story, however you want to put it, it is not going to reach every single person. Yet I still firmly believe in the starfish approach. If I can reach just one today, I feel like I have done a part of the bigger work, right? I have one milestone, one heart, one mind, one wink, one whatever is still better than none. It's still better than me being mute or not taking action or not supporting something that I truly feel is valuable. And so just recognizing that I'm not going to be able to always win in the way that the society says it looks like winning. Sometimes we'll win in silence. Sometimes my win to the world will look like a loss, but I can rest with peace at night, right? I don't have to worry about my soul. I don't have to worry about a rapport. I don't have to worry about any of those things, because my character, my integrity, my work will speak for itself. And for those who encounter it and are positively impacted by it, they will get the benefit. For those who don't believe it, they have a right to think a different way, and they can go on their merry way as well. Right? So it's just really understanding who you are and why you move the way you move or don't is a really big part of recognizing why, how, where, what, when you are feeling or having a sense of inclusion.
Yeah, if I could follow TaJuanna, definitely it's about that, knowing your identity. Once I reach a certain age, my I give a darn broke. I really did. Like it broke. I'm sorry. Oh, you didn't like that? I'm sorry. Like it's not. I think Charlene mentioned that in the conversation we had previously. You're not purposefully, going out of your way to be in someone's face, because again, we are actually, fighting that. But at the same time, I cannot nurse your sensibilities if your sensibilities are steeped in a certain amount of prejudice and bias, and this is, if you want to stay. So to me, it was more like a righteous indignation just, rose up. I just got tired of it. I was in a, in my early years, in my younger years, I was in a job that people have met other Puerto Ricans, but because unfortunately they did not represent well, by the time they met me, I walk in the door, they basically put exactly the same labels over me. Yeah, in a little box, tiny box, but I busted out of it. It's a tiny box, but I busted out of it. That they said, Puerto Ricans are this, and that, and they fill in the blanks. Shout out to Hispanic Month. I think it just, hurt this month. It started today.
It did start today.
It did start today. It did start today with my daughter. Side note, with my daughter and granddaughter, I posted their photos, and trust me, they do not look typical Puerto Rican. I said, I think Hispanic got a new look. So it made my day. But definitely being aware that we're not doing this just for us, and it's just for me. I stand for the ones that are coming behind me.
That's right.
Because we're standing on other people's shoulders, so if we just take the just something as simple as a female being able to vote. We're not being able to do that. We stand on their shoulders. They fought, they were the ones who put the time and the effort, and they gave everything. So at the same, in the same light, I think that I stand for my grandkids and their kids, and anybody that might be even my same age group, my same generation, or a little bit younger. But like Charlene said, they just don't quite know how to approach it. Their silence is really not meaning, it's not implied consent necessarily. They just don't even know, how am I even going to breach this? And I think that seeing others, though some of us, step in, with boldness and courage, will probably give them, the what they need, that little push and that little nudge to address it in their own situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was very much, I didn't like not being heard. I'm already an introvert. So by the time I know I'm getting my words and my thoughts together to speak, and I'm still being ignored, now I become a Taurian and I bull my way through, and I just say, like, Brenda, I really don't care at this point, because you showed no interest in what I was saying. So I felt like I needed to make sure that my voice was heard, because being someone who's not outwardly always talking and always sharing my thoughts, it's more important for me more than ever to make sure not only am I heard, but I'm clear about what I'm saying, and I make sure that what I'm saying to people, they're getting it across. But what I won't do, and I hold true to this, I will not hold people's hands based off of whatever issues they may be having, because we all have underlying issues. You can say something to me that literally you don't think twice about it, because maybe you're talking about what kind of apple juice do I want, and for me it's like, oh my God, you just pulled the trigger. I'm not here to try to figure out which words are now trigger words and all, because literally anything and everything can be a trigger. It's really about what's the intention behind what people are saying to you. And I think that's where we've lost so much, and that's been part of the communication that has died. We are always having this conversation of, oh, you triggered me, but what was my intention to you? Like, are we looking deeper into understanding what's the intention of the conversation? And then we can understand, are they really meaning to be a trigger? And maybe I can tell them that of a situation, or let them know, but not just automatically assume that everything that someone's doing is to be against you. Like we already discussed, it's not personal. Somebody really probably, because it's unconscious, they don't know. So we can't walk around this world assuming that everyone's walked in our shoes, everyone's had our experience, because not all Black people are the same. We all have
and
not.
they're not
come
going
from,
to. They're not going to have the opportunity to do that.
Exactly.
They may not.
Exactly. So it's really, even women, all women are not the same. All women have not had the same experiences. So we have to really understand, when we are in conversations with each other, what's our intention with this conversation? And then we can really move forward to understanding how inclusive can we truly be? Because like you said already, we can't include everyone in everything, because they weren't meant to be in every single thing. However, we don't want to purposefully go out of our way to exclude people.
Right. Absolutely.
That seg that oh wow, that was pretty deep,
Rich.
so to speak, from and rich as well from the standpoint of that, and it kind of like goes into the next thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Are we with the thought processes and the things that you guys have brought to the table? Are we throwing away the opportunities to teach and encourage the change when we get to those points? Because I'm asking this question is because it's one that we talked about, but I'm also asking from a dynamic that I'm always thinking that there's avenues to teach and change.
Right.
Now that could just be the optimistic that Carl is. That could be just how Carl lives his life, and that's how I see myself being impactful to others. Uh, I don't think that there's lost causes now, so to speak. Now, with that being said, I always prepare myself for the backlash that comes with that.
Yeah.
Do we throw away the opportunities? And I think it, because I go through the mindset, what Aldo has said about the stewardship, and I'm with the mind of Christ, and that's how I really think about everything. The opportunities are always there for us to be something to somebody.
Yeah.
Now, we can't be something to everybody, but the opportunities are there for us to be something to someone. And with that, with the things that we're not being heard, such as Charlene said, and Brenda talked about the different things with the stereotypes, even in the midst of that, and we're fed up with that, are we still throwing away the opportunities to teach and encourage change in those individuals?
I think the opportunity gets thrown away when you give up, right? When you feel, because there was a mention, I can't remember exactly who expressed it, but there's a mention of, like, I'll be heard either way. That in itself is a privilege. Not everyone gets heard, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone gets heard. And so when you feel, and it's important for us to choose facts over feelings, but when you have a sense that you're not being heard, okay, that's one set of ears, right? Move on to the next room, or move on to the next call, or move on to the next street, or move on to the next, right? Like, take your voice, take your message with you wherever you go. And like Carl already said, it's not always about what you say, yet it's how you say it. You can find a way to communicate in the appropriate manner for that setting, and keep speaking your message. Speak your message until you're sick of it, because now somebody just might finally be hearing. Right? But when we say, oh, nobody's listening, so I just quit, I'm just going to give up, that's when we throw it away. To me, that's when we throw it away. So keep going forward with your message. If it's for readjusting the table, readjust the table. If it's for demolition, make a demolition. If it's for building, build. Find the setting appropriate for your message, yet don't throw it away because you feel today that you're not being heard. Your message, your story, your experiences, your perspectives need to be shared either way, so that someone else can say, I'd like to know more, or I have some questions because I didn't have a previous understanding about what you said today.
Yeah. May I follow up?
Yes.
Yes,
With that?
absolutely.
To answer the question simply, I'm going to say yes. We are throwing away opportunities to teach and encourage. The worst way that I think it's done is when we hear, oh my gosh, and I work in a place and that's all I heard. This is the way it's always been. It's just the way this always, yeah. Oh, or we tried, but it just couldn't be fixed. Or, someone like you used to work here that wanted to fix it. Yeah, they're not here anymore. I mean, inspiring talk.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just watched Cruella, so I'm in a mode. And I said, inspiring talk. So I think that we can learn from the good, from the bad, and from the ugly.
Yes.
We can acknowledge the errors. We can acknowledge that things were handled incorrectly, and then we, since a very wise, woman, he was my former boss. She was a minister, and she said, if it's bothering you that much, maybe it's because you're the one called to fix it. Stop looking for someone or saying someone really should fix that table that is a little wobbly. Someone really should, come with X, Y, and Z, just fill the blanks. So maybe you are the one who was called to improve, to make it better, to be better. So, and when TaJuanna was saying that, say your message until you're even sick of your message, when we work with leaders, true leaders who are servant leaders, who lead by example, they have something in common. They always are talking about their mission. They're always talking about the vision. They're always able to lead their organization, and those who are following on their team, always keeping the mission visible. So leaders keep telling their message until someone catches it and they run with it for the next generation, because what's our purpose? I mean, the whole idea is to duplicate ourselves, because I'm claiming my 120 years on this earth, but hey, who knows? It may be sooner. I don't know how long I have personally on this earth. So I should duplicate myself, whether I'm talking about my children and my grandchildren, what I teach them, but also as a leader, and also as as someone that is very aware of those who are looking at you and looking up to you and coming behind you. My husband jokes that, oh my gosh, when you're here, when you're not here, you still here. Why? Because my daughter sounds just like me. And then I have my daughter come in here like, oh my gosh, mom, when you're here, you're not here, you're still here. Why? Because now the 3-year-old sounds like me. So you know what? I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job, but also in all those things that you tell them, hey, you may encounter people who are just going to be a little bit difficult. They're going to be obtuse about how offensive they are. They're going to be obtuse about and narrow-minded about you personally, or about someone, or whatever group you represent. This is how you can deal with it. Ultimately, the decision will be theirs, but hopefully, they'll listen and remember something that you said. So.
Yeah. Charlie, you have anything to add to that before we kind of start wrapping up our talk today?
Yes, well, I'm just going to go back to my Pepe Le Pew example.
Yes, that
and
You and Pepe.
Yes,
You
my
love
Pepe Le
it.
Pew example of I'm born and raised on Looney Tunes, and just to hear that they were redoing Space Jam. One, I'm not a fan of redoing movies just because you don't have an idea. But if you're gonna do it, okay, fine, do it well. But there was such hoopla about Pepe Le Pew and just getting rid of him that instead I felt like why not just give him a transformation? Why not allow him in front of everyone, especially for the new generation, to have a transformation? Why are we throwing him away? And I think we've built a culture where we throw people away, and we throw certain people away. We don't throw everybody away.
No,
certain people away. So it's very disheartening, but I feel like there's too much opportunity to actually teach and then learn from that experience, because, and I'm not a religious person, but we have to still go back to that part of, you had Jesus who had to step in and stop a whole crowd from stoning a woman to death because of mistakes she's made. And the first thing he said, if you have made no mistakes, please let me step aside. You can fling the first rock you have. Everybody started dropping rocks. So my thing is, why now, especially from cultures where we are so focused on love and forgiveness and all of that, are we so ready to throw certain people away? And I say, before you jump into that mob mentality of, yes, get rid of it, burn down the table. Even though I said burn down the table, it's burn down certain tables, not all your tables, because then where are you going to sit? Are you building for the rest of your life? Like, you just have to understand when and where to do certain things, and then you can start making moves and making changes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great.
James
Said I want to put that up what James said, that because I thought that was awesome perspective.
Yes.
Leader does not lead by choice; they lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the confusion, understanding that what leaders are, because 9 times out of 10 we see these people appointed as leaders, as managers, super, whatever the title that they may hold. We see them in our workplaces appointed to these positions, or either we've come into that work arena and they were in that position, and we don't assimilate them with leader, because we don't see the characteristics of leader in the individuals that's holding these titles. And I think this is where we get, I won't necessarily use dwarf, but this is where we get the assumption of the leaders and not a clarity definition of what leader is, that inclusion and vulnerability, which is always my spot. We gotta cover this last question, and I want you guys to cover this and bring it on out. But we're gonna talk about I'm trying to put it in the chat here. Yes, I am kind of slow sometimes, but we talk about what can we do, just to kind of give us a sort of call to action and closing us out. What can we do today, starting today, in our present situations to change unconscious bias around us, or even in the workplace? Because we see it, whether it's us on the individual level or whether it's in the workplace as well. What can we do starting today, where someone could leave this broadcast and leave this discussion and say, oh, you know what? Maybe I can start doing that after I come back from lunch. Maybe it's not that simple, but maybe someone could have that idea. Take it around the horn.
I think part of it is we have to change and look in ourselves first, because you can't clean everyone else's home or backyard and yours is a mess. So I think we need to first take accountability and take assessment of what are we doing, what are our unconscious biases, and how are we going to check ourselves before we can check others. And I believe that's one of the greatest starting places at this point.
Yeah, I like that.
I would say that I like that. I like that. Speak out, definitely. Speak out. Lead with your character and integrity. And like Charlene said, you have a conversation with yourself. Have a good look at yourself and see, I wonder, I may not be doing that specific thing over here, but what am I doing? What have I done? What are my mindsets? What, do I, fall into the same, I do the same mistakes and things. And then thirdly, determined to address it, and then look for opportunities to address it. Don't mean, go ahead and, start, kicking tails, since we like the tables and chairs, kicking tables and chairs, and upending everything. But once you have taken a good look at yourself, once you have determined to address it, then look for the opportunities and have a plan. I I cannot fly by the seat of my pants. I'm a planner and I write it and, you know, that good stuff. But whatever your style is, yeah, address it. Don't let a good opportunity to uncover that unconscious bias, you know, pass you by, because again, it may not be just only for you. Who knows? You may change the whole culture of your company, the whole culture of your team. You may be able to bring such a change that even turn, you know, things around. And you are at the forefront. I know that we don't set to be trailblazers, but sometimes it's just given to us, and we just, you know, the door is open, and we just make the decision to, you know, to walk through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I can just kind of button that up, right? We've talked a lot about acting. We've talked a lot about speaking. We've talked a lot about building, setting, preparing, being, right? Whatever that change is that you want to see, that you want to make, like Charlene said, have it start with you. Mm-hmm. Please, let's not try to be the hypocrite, because not one of us on this earth is perfect, right? And we have to, Karen put in the chat, the comments, redemption, right, is the greatest hope. At some point in time, some day of the week, we all need to be redeemed. We all need grace about something. It brings to mind, even though we're all adults here in this space, it brings to mind just the way we bring up children. They absorb a lot more of what they see than what we say, right? You can say don't smoke, but if a child or someone easily influenced by you sees you putting something to your lips, they're more likely going to do that because of the behavior that has been set, right? That's with anything. That's with words. That's with food. That's with, right, whatever your desires and interests are, be about them in a way that's serving, not just self-serving, right? Because when we serve ourselves, self-care is a responsibility, not a luxury. When we serve ourselves and when we take care of ourselves and put on our own oxygen mask and heal ourselves, we can absolutely be available, present, willing, strong enough to serve others. So make sure that whatever change, whatever message, whatever table, whatever you want to have going forward, make sure that it starts with you so that you can be stable ground for the next person that either is seeking what you have to offer, seeking the change you want to present, or that may easily be influenced by you.
I don't know if I could touch that one. That was meant to be mic drop. I agree totally with everything I've heard from each of you guys, and this has been a great conversation. Just to grab a piece of all of you all's saying and taking perspective on that. I'm one that does self-inventory, and it takes that kind of person to do self-inventory, because everybody doesn't like to do that. I stand in the mirror or not, and it's not so much to see how I look or what I got on, but a lot of times I get in the mirror and I just ask myself personal questions. And I do that for a fact because, you know, a lot of times my kids think I'm crazy when I do that. They walk past the bathroom, I'm in the mirror talking to myself. But what I get out of that is I carry on the discussion and I ask myself those questions. Carl, what do you want to be today? And I don't take it as what are your future plans or what are you know, for other. The inventory you're taking on, what do you want to be today? And that will be the first thing. And I'm totally in agreement with all of you all on that, even from taking the inventory of yourself all the way up to TaJuanna with being that. And my grandfather used to tell me when we were little kids, and I always got these, I came up in southern parents, and they always had stories and things to tell us. So I'm finding out a lot of what they had was so rich for me to get now to apply it to my life. I understand it so much better than a little kid running around just throwing rocks at cars. I really get it now, some of the stuff that they tell me, right? So he used to tell me, just be the thing. And I always wanted to harp on what was the thing. Because that was the ending of what he told me, right? Just be the thing. And I'm looking around like, what is the thing? And it didn't hit me until I got a little older that the thing was just whatever you were supposed to be the thing, be that. And it had no conclusion or ending. Had if you were going to be, I go back to King, you was going to be the street sweeper, be the best street sweeper that you can be. And that's really what he was just telling me. Just be what it is that you want to be. And I think that if we do those things, starting with us, we'll uncover a lot of those biases that's there. And not only that, we'll probably start educating a lot of people to some of their ways as well. But they got to start with us. Great conversation, guys. I am excited that we had this conversation. I know we can go on forever because this is a topic that I'm sure all of us have plenty of experience in. And thank everybody that's came by. Any bye-byes? Anybody want to say what they doing, what's going on with them, and let them know where they can find you? Anyone?
Well, hey, if we don't have anything, feel free to, join us in the C3 Conscious Group, the co-op with Karen Huller. We absolutely have great conversations there. Karen is always providing room, right? Creating space for people to share, for people to increase in perspective. She's creating opportunities like this for you to host conversations of importance to you. Make sure to connect with us. Make sure to join our connection. And we look forward to having more conversations with you.
Absolutely. We thank everybody come out. Thank you guys for joining and being our guests as well. Thank you for a wonderful job, TaJuanna. Thank you also, Karen, for giving us the opportunity to showcase and to also bring light to the C3 community as well. And we want to thank you, and Lawrence as well. We definitely give kudos out to them. And thank you guys for a great show. You guys have a blessed rest of your day and the rest of your week. And we'll see you guys at the next event.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.